Now that you've got most of the UI squared away, deleting emoji should only take a few lines of code, and I'm going to leave that up to you as a challenge. Here are a few hints. For starters, you're going to need a delete button. You'll need to put some logic in place so that the delete button is only enabled when in edit mode. You'll also need to make sure new emoji can't be added in edit mode. For the remaining logic, take inspiration from how you built the add emoji feature. Good luck! Navigate to main.storyboard and drag out another bar button item from the object library and drop it on the right side of the nav bar, right beside the plus button. Under System Item in the Attributes Inspector, set the icon to Trash and uncheck the Enabled button to hide it by default. Add an editor on the right and navigate to ViewController.Swift. You're going to add an outlet for both the plus and delete buttons so that you can show and hide them as necessary. Also, add an action for the delete button to implement delete logic. At the top, Control drag to create the two outlets. And then at the bottom, Control drag once more from the delete icon to create an action. Close the storyboard editor. You only want to show the delete button if you're in edit mode and hide it otherwise. You also want to hide the plus button in edit mode and show it otherwise. In Set Editing Animated, add the following lines. That should take care of it. Next, you're going to get all of the selected cells that we need to delete. Right now, as you might have noticed, you can only select a single cell at a time. You'll fix that later. To get the selected cells, we're going to use a property on the collection view that I used in the last video, index paths for selected items. Since this returns an optional array, we'll need to unwrap it using a guard let. In delete emoji, add the following code. Remember the rule you set up earlier. Whenever you modify the underlying data, you always need to make changes to the data source first and then apply those changes to the collection view. Navigate to datasource.swift and add a new method in the extension. Using the index path, we can figure out which emoji you need to delete. The section property on the index path can be used to obtain a category. Using the category, you can get the array of emoji. Since this is a dictionary, the array returned is optional, so you need to unwrap it. I'm assigning it to a variable instead of a constant so that you can mutate it just like you did with the add emoji method. You'll use the item property on the index path as an index into the array and call the remove method. Remember that Swift data structures are value types. This means that even though remove_at is a mutating method, you need to update the dictionary with the new array copy that we get back. While this works for deleting a single emoji, let's add another method that can handle multiple index paths at once to delete several emoji. For the implementation of this method, you're going to iterate over each path and then delegate the work to the previous method you wrote. Back in viewController.swift, you can now call this delete method and pass in selected indices. Since the data source has been updated, we can also update the collection view by asking it to delete the item at the index paths. Build and run the app. Tap Edit to go into edit mode. Select any emoji, and then click on the trash can to delete. The emoji should disappear from the library along with a smooth animation. Give yourself a self 5. We're not done yet though. While our method works, it will break if we allow the user to select more than one emoji to delete. Here's why. Say we had a simple data source with a single section and 8 items, and wanted to remove elements at indexes 2, 5, and 6. I've highlighted those items in red. If we try to loop through and remove them in that order, which is how we have implemented our delete method, we'd run into a problem. On the first pass, we would delete the item at index 2. The array would move all elements after the deleted one to the left by 1 spot. The remaining items we wanted to delete are no longer in position 5 and 6. They are now at position 4 and 5. We delete the item at position 5, which happens to be one we do want to delete, but not the item at that original index. While this seems fortunate, it also makes this bug harder to track. After we delete this item, the positions swap one more time, and we have one item left to delete. Now we run into our bug. One of the items we wanted to originally delete is at index position 3, but we're about to call delete at position 6. Not only is this the wrong position at this point, there's no item left at position 6, so we're going to run into an out-of-bounds error and crash. The fix, as it turns out, is pretty clever. What we're going to do is sort the items in descending order, from highest index to lowest. Index paths for selected items is typically sorted in ascending order, so we can call reverse to do this. Now in reverse order, we can iterate through the paths and delete items without any issue. When items are deleted, they do not affect any of the elements to the left of it in the array, so we don't end up with any incorrectly deleted items or out-of-bounds errors. We have an additional wrinkle though. Let's say the collection view only had a single section. Well, in that case, we can write code like this. Since there's only one section, we can discard the section property on the index path and just reverse the item values to treat it as an array of integers. Since a user can delete emoji across multiple sections, we need to reverse the order of the item values within a particular section. Now first, we need to allow users to select more than one emoji in edit mode. In viewDidLoad, let's set this. Build and run the app. And in edit mode, you should be able to select more than one emoji. Cool, first step done. Back in delete emoji, the first thing we need to do is determine which sections have selected emoji. Let's iterate through the selected indices array and add each section value to a set. Since a set is a collection that only stores unique values, we should end up with a list of sections that have selected items. Next, we're going to take each section from this set and we'll iterate through selected indices array again and grab all the index paths where the section value matches the current section. Now that we have all the index paths for a single section, you can sort it by item in descending order. You can call delete emoji again on the data source, this time passing in the sorted index paths. Do the same with the call to the collection view to delete items. Delete any of the remaining lines of code in the method and you should be good to go. Build and run the app, and enjoy your fancy delete method.